Elsewhere in the world is Ana Navarro. I got push alerts. Pandemonium ran wild because not only were you not on the podcast Thursday, which people have attributed to being Ana Navarro Day, but on Friday when you weren't here, people went crazy. But first off, welcome Ana Navarro to the Behind the Table podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's nice to be missed. Cha. So did you hear from this? So basically, you weren't here on Friday because you and I had long ago come to an arrangement that you weren't engagement, right? And you weren't going to be here on Friday. And then when the show started and you didn't walk out, Joy, for whatever reason, said, "We don't know where Ana Navarro is." Actually, Joy probably didn't know because she didn't ask me. I just said, "Hey, Anna's not here." Even if I had told her, she would have forgotten by Friday. So yeah. No, I start reading all of these headlines and people are sending me DMs and texting me, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And mind you, I hadn't looked at my phone for a long time because my speaking engagement was in Naples. And I drove and it's like a 2-hour drive. It was Florida, not Italy, right? It was like a 2-hour drive. Which I actually really enjoyed because I love the idea of putting on music and just kind of disconnecting for a little bit. I love the idea of you disconnecting too, by the way. Going through the Everglades where there isn't a damn thing to see other than grass. And so when I finally make it across, I think it's I-75. I don't know what it is, but it's something. It's a long stretch of road. And I'm in it's I've got all, and I turn on the phone. And it's all these people asking me if I'm okay. And I said, "What in the hell did Joyce say? It's not just you. Every time somebody is off this show, people jump to the absolute like conspiracy theory worst stuff. They've been thrown away. They've been fired. It's I don't understand it. People sometimes need a day off. They have other arrangements. They get sick. I don't know what else to do about it, but here we are. So okay. I just told you in the last show on a break that I'm going to go see Bad Bunny. Yes. Yes, you are. You told me you're going to go in June. So the next time that Anna's not here, it's because she lied to me, said she needed a sick day and went to go see that bunny. That's what happened. All right. I never get sick. I will come in on my deathbed. I appreciate that because I want to save my days to go do things that I want to do. Yes. You all right. Let's talk about your weekend because you had a big one. First off, you went to see the Mexican pop rock band Mana Mana. Mana from Heaven. What are we talking about? Mana. Mana is this great rock band. Like a Latin rock band. They've been around forever. When I tell you that I know every song they sang, and I love that because sometimes you go to concerts of people whose songs you know, and then you get to the concert, and they sing everything you don't know and you're like, what's the point? I didn't come here for your new stuff. I want you to sing your hits. So, I love it when you go see an artist and they sing their hits, and then it's this thing I was so enraptured by it because there's something about rockers, rock and roll guys who just refuse to age. They don't care. They act exactly the same at 70 than they did at 17. You look at MC Jagger doing concerts all over the world in his 80s. You look at, Springsteen also doing concerts all over the world. And these guys were fantastic, and it was just really it felt so good. It was they were in Miami, and it felt so good to be in community. Their fans are all Latino Latin America. So they sell out stadiums all over the world, all over Latin America and in the United States. I will tell you I was worried for a little bit there because they were very strong opponents of Donald Trump. They endorsed Kamala Harris. They did an event with Kamala in Las Vegas. In fact, they had for one of their big songs, one of their top hits, they had a collab with Nicky Jam. Nicky Jam is the Latin artist, the guy who Donald Trump thought was a girl. Nicky, where are you? Get her over here. I forgot that happened. And he endorsed Donald Trump. Yes. And Mana had a collab with him on this big song, and when he did that they wiped it out of every platform, and they basically put out a statement saying, "We do not do collaborations with racists period with people who support races." Turns out that weeks after that is when Donald Trump did the rally in Madison Square Garden, where they had the Puerto Rican a joke. That comic who made that stupid Puerto Rican joke, calling Puerto Rico a floating island of trash. And Nicky Jam then, withdrew his endorsement and says he has learned his lesson and he's stepping away from politics. A little bit of what we're seeing right now with that artist from TLC. So Mana, speaks about Latino excellent excellence. They encourage people to vote for people who will do good for our community. They are proud of their heritage and their identity. They're obviously influenced by rock and roll, right? And people, you go there and then you see like all of these Mexicans and all of these Latin doing like that thing that people used to do, do at the Ozzy Osbourne concerts. And one of the things he said was the lead singer. His name is F said, you know what, screw crossover, our songs are in Spanish and we're going to continue singing in Spanish. But listen, I say this all the time at a time when the Latino community has felt so much sadness and heartbreak, and we've seen the attacks and the persecution of immigrants and anybody who looks brown to be able to gather and then sing and dance and feel joy. That kind of balance is increasingly important for me. But when I tell you for a while there there were all of these cops around in security, and they were armed to the teeth. There was a lot going on in Miami this weekend. There was a ultra music festival, and Trump was in town. So there were the traffic, there were all of these road closures. It was a disaster. And then I kept seeing these cops and I kept thinking, is this a place where petty president is going to send ICE knowing that this band Mana endorsed Kamala and has basically called him out for his abuses of power and stood up for the Latino community? So I was like looking around the entire time, asking myself that question. First time I ever go to a concert in my 54 years of life that I have had that thought. Happily, that did not happen. All right, I have a couple things here. First off, I agree with your concert strategy about playing the hits because I have a rule. I will not go to a concert unless there are 5 songs I know and I'm excited to hear. How do you know that those songs are going to get played at? You don't. But the artist has to have 5 songs where I'm like, okay, this is great. Otherwise, it's too much. You can't sit through a 3-hour concert to hear one song you like as the encore, right? That's me. Number 2, this is a complete digression, but more comments about your Starbucks order than anything else you would imagine on the YouTube. Can we tell people what you're drinking because I'm tired of reading about it? It's black, it's a venti black iced tea, unsweetened with extra ice. All right. And then I stick a Tuvia in it. People are very concerned about what you're drinking, so there we go. Yeah, there. You see it too, right? Yes, I'm sorry. It's not a Long Island iced tea. It's not rum and coke. It's a black iced tea. I've told you before, I only like coffee in my house or in Miami made by Cubans with foam and pumita. I refuse to drink coffee anywhere outside of the 305. I understand. All right. So this concert of Mana led out was in downtown Miami, and it led out at the same time as the Ultra Music Festival. Do you know what this is? No, I don't. Okay. It's I don't, Brian, it's insane. It's like I don't know if it's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, but it is a sea of very young people, and I think it's DJs and what's that kind of music called? EDM. SNM. Yeah, dance music. Yes. All of that stuff. And they're just like jamming, and it's in downtown Miami on the streets. It's insane. So it's crazy because now you've got all of the folks that are coming out of the Casa Center in downtown who look like me. All dressed up, and the menopause crowd who was there for the menopause. Bougie Latino crowd who was there for Mana. And then you've got the electronic music youth sea of youth all walking down the streets at the same time. I felt very old. Well, the other thing that happened this week, to be clear, you said, SNM was your guest for which makes sense given the skirt you're wearing because you've been whipping people. Yeah, you've been whipping people with your skirt backstage. We got to talk to HR later. The other big thing this weekend was the No Kings, demonstration in Miami. I saw that you were there with Congressman Jamie Raskin. What was it like? This is not the first one you've been to. Does it feel different? Does it feel like it's bigger, or does it feel like the sentiment has changed? They are getting bigger. and people are just so fed up with what's going on in this country. But you know, I have gone to every no kings the big parades that there are the when there's big days that is all over the country. And I think that at a time when a lot of us, like Whoopi says, every day, a lot of us feel alone and we wonder, am I the only one having these feelings? To be able to go to protest. First of all, let's just begin with that we are allowed. It is our right in this country to protest, a right that we refuse to lose. And I don't take for granted that I was born in a country where these protests would lead to people going to jail. That I live in Florida, 90 miles from Cuba, where a protest like this would lead to people being put in jail or killed. And so that we have the right to protest, that we fearlessly exercise that right, that we are in community, that that we are with people who are willing to be out there. Some of us in the heat, like in a place like Miami, some people in the cold in some of the northern states, with patriotism and joy and just. This commitment to defend American values and what this country stands for and fight for it. It always inspires me when I see children there, and it inspires me even more when I see older people there. A lot of people who are elderly I see people there with walkers and they're showing up with gray hair and holding up signs. And these are people who have been fighting for generations, who were protesting in the 60s, who were protesting in the 70s against Vietnam, who were they've never gotten tired of protesting. I find that so inspiring. And I was one of the speakers, and when I was up on stage and I was looking around the crowd, it just fills my tank. It fills my tank. At times I feel depleted and I feel, under so much pressure, and I feel such sadness, particularly with everything that's been going on the immigration front. And then I look and I see black people and white people and Latinos and young people and old people and Christians, and it's just wonderful to see the fabric that is America together, standing up for the values that are America. I loved it. That's great. The other thing you've had a first-hand look at has been the TSA problems in this country. Workers have been required to work without pay for the past 45 days due to an ongoing fight in Congress. Trump directed the DHS to pay them starting today or tomorrow. I believe I've read that they're getting paychecks today now. Why do you think it took so long for him to do that? Did we know he could do that? Did he know he could do that? I think he thought this was going to be a drag on Democrats. I think he thought this was that people were going to blame Democrats and that he was going to benefit politically from it. If Donald Trump is finally signing an executive order to get these folks paid, believe me, it's because it has become a political liability for the Republican Party. And I think Americans aren't stupid. Americans know that Republicans are in charge of the White House, the House, and the Senate. They can control what comes up for a vote. They can control everything. And so if that's the thing, if you own all the institutions basically, if you're controlling every institution, you own the problems, you own the losses. And the problems in Americans, here we are on Friday, us celebrating that the Senate had passed a unanimous bill authorizing the funding of TSA. Unanimous. You know how difficult it is to pass something by unanimous consent in the Senate. That means every Democrat and every Republican, that's right, voted for this thing, and then they send it over to the Republican House, and the Speaker won't even put it up for a vote. Won't even take it up for a vote, and then everybody leaves for 2 weeks on spring break. Who in the hell gets 2 weeks off for spring break? Even we don't. And that they have the gall to be going away on vacation while people can't pay their groceries. It's incredible, because Miami, I have been amazed by how well TSA has worked in Miami. And this is rare, because whenever something's happening anywhere in the country, it's happening much worse in Miami usually. But it has happened, it's working very well, TSA. And I asked the mayor, I was texting with her yesterday, and I said, how come Miami is MIA is doing so well? She said, we're giving them a lot of love. They're giving them gas cards to fill up their tanks. They're giving them food cards. They're doing a lot of things to get them into work and enable them to be able to show up. I'm so grateful for these people. And I keep thinking to myself, look, A TSA job is a thankless job on a good day, right? And a lot of people get mad at you when you take away their perfume and their facial cream because it's over 3.5 ounces. You make them take off their shoes. You put them through an X-ray machine. All of that. The reason people have these jobs is because of job security. The reason people want to work for the government is because of the benefits and the job security. And they have now had to go hungry and go in need twice in less than a 12-month period. This is the second shutdown where TSA hasn't gotten paid in less than 12 months. And I think Donald Trump, what ended the shutdown the last time was precisely TSA, and the fact that the Democrats didn't have the stomach to see that kind of suffering by people. And I think Trump thought he could use them as political pawns, but I think it is costing him. It is costing him politically. I think it's irresponsible. I support the Democrats sticking together and demanding changes in the way ICE operates. People keep dying in ICE custody. Over 40 people have died in ICE custody since Trump took office. 13 people have died this year alone and were in March. Some guy died a couple of weeks ago. He'd had a toothache for a week. He apparently got sepsis because for a week he was trying to get that treated and he got no medical treatment. This is inhumane. It is absolutely inhumane the way that ICE is acting that they are, So one of the things Democrats are asking for requiring is judicial warrants instead of these administrative warrants, so that the things we saw happen in Minneapolis, where these cell ICE agents barge into people's homes, break the doors and drag an elderly man and his underwear out and below freezing weather. So those things can't happen because you will need a judicial warrant because remember in that case it ended up being a case of mistaken identity. Yeah, so They drag a man in the cold and the ice and the snow and it ends up they had the wrong guy. So those are the type of things that Democrats are standing up for. And I got asked the other day at the speaking engagement, what gives me hope? And I will tell you, these No Kings protests give me hope. When I see the seats that are getting flipped in places like Florida, that gives me hope because it means that not only are people showing up at these protests, but they're also showing up and voting. In Florida, just in the last few months, we've elected the first Democratic city of Miami mayor ever. They flipped this woman, Emily Gregory, flipped the seat where Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago is in Palm Beach last week. And there was also another man who flipped a long-held Republican seat in Tampa. He flipped it by 408 votes, which is a reminder to all of us that voting matters because voting, because 408 votes can make the difference. And I hope that this scares the bejesus out of Republicans that when they see these results, they get scared and they come to their damn senses and they grow a spine. It is incomprehensible and unacceptable that all they do is cater to Donald Trump instead of represent the priorities of their constituents. Before we go, you went because you're the queen of all things theater now somehow, which is fantastic. I don't know how that happened. You went to the show Public Charge at the Public Theater and it's here in New York. Tell us about this. Tell us. I had never been to Broadway before. I had never been to this. Now I always thought you've appeared on Broadway. I always thought Broadway was like a New Yorker thing, 'cause New York kids grow up going to Broadway. It's part of their life. That this was never my thing. I was never into it. All of a sudden now I love going to see plays. It's an escape because nobody's on their phones. You're not reading news. You are focused on what is in front of you, the talent of these people. So yeah, now I know Broadway artists. I know Broadway producers. I know all about the place. I read the reviews. It's amazing. I love it. And I went to see this show. It's at the Public Theater. And the Public Theater. Explain to people what the Public Theater in New York is because it's where Hamilton started actually. It's where a lot of shows kind of come for the first time. Yeah. So it's kind of like an incubator of things that if they make it there, then go on to Broadway, but it's an incubator for plays and shows. And so, my friend, it's a very prestigious thing to when something like Hamilton comes out to be one of the people. Oh, I saw it at the public. It's a very New York thing to be able to say. That I didn't know. Yes. I like it because a restaurant I like is right across the street in the Shine. There we go. But so this show was written by my friend Julissa Rioso. Julissa is this extraordinary Dominican-American woman. She came here when she was like 8 years old like I did. Julissa's, mom was manual labor, was a worker. I think she might have been a housekeeper or working in that when she was here trying to make ends meet. Julissa is brilliant. Ended up going to Harvard, is a lawyer was very successful. Worked in the Hillary campaign in 2016 and then went and worked for Hillary Clinton in as in the secretary in the State Department. She was the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Central America and Cuba. So she wrote this play. It's called Public Charge. And then and then she became ambassador to Euro. Wow. Then Trump won in 2016. Was it 2016? Trump won and then she worked in the Biden administration. She was Jill Biden's chief of staff for a while and then she was ambassador to Spain. I loved it when she was ambassador to Spain. That's a nice residence. In the middle of Spain with a pool and 11 bedrooms. Oh, that's a nice one. We live very different lives, Ana Navarro, but continue. Anyways, so she writes this play. She's done everything. And she writes this play and I thought it was about her life and it is. There's, her life is of course part of it. But it's actually about negotiations with Cuba, the Obama administration's negotiations and change of policy towards Cuba and the Alan Gross case. Do you remember that? That was that a Jewish man who was taken a prisoner in Cuba by the Cuban government. He was in Cuba delivering shortwave radio to the Jewish community in Cuba and was in jail rotting in jail in Cuba for years and years and years. And as part of the negotiations that happened, he was eventually released and Julissa was all over this. But think about how relevant this is with what's going on in Cuba now. But what's the extraordinary thing is for me, it was riveting because I know all the backstory of Alan Groves, and I of course was in Miami. And this was all of everything that was happening on in this play. I remember when it happened. But it's also extraordinary because I am sitting in the row behind Hillary Clinton. Oh wow. So both Hillary Clinton and Jill Biden showed up for the opening of Public Charge at the Public Theater. And a lot of the play, a lot of the show is about mentions Hillary without mentioning Hillary. It's about this is important for her. She wants you to do this. She wants you and Hillary, and you can see I'm like watching Hillary's face the entire time because you can see the wheels turning in her brain. She is remembering these things, and she's laughing at some of the people that worked for her are portrayed and are, in a funny way. And she's remembering these events that happened and And Jill Biden was there with her daughter and her granddaughter showed up to support Julissa. So that was really nice to see. Jill told me that her book is coming out in June. I told her I took the liberty of inviting her on the show for us. Sure. I think Hillary too. It was nice to see them. It was really nice to see them. It was nice to see them show up and support Julissa. It was incredible to see Julissa Reynoso, this little Dominican-American refugee girl, have her show. She's been working on it for a while on Broadway. Yeah, so I had a great weekend. I went to my friend's Broadway premiere. I went to the Manic concert. I went to the No Kings protest. And then I crashed my neighbor's barbecue and ate and drank. Yeah. My neighbor, I'm driving into my house and I see my neighbor. He bought this contraption. It's called a Santa Maria. It's like what they use in Argentina to grill meat. But you could grill a dinosaur on this thing. There's hooks, there's this, there's that. There's different levels. So this wafting of barbecue has been in the air since I got up in the morning to walk cha. So when I came back from the No Kings protest, starving, I just went over there and opened the door and said, "Hi, neighbor." Nobody crashes anything like Ana Navarro, by the way. There's never been a party or an invitation that you can't just find your way into. It's very impressive. I had never, I didn't know his name. Now I know his name. And it was great. It was, and I loved it because I can go eat and get drunk and then all I have to do is he famous. I feel like you're gonna say the name and it's gonna be like Tom Brady or something. No, I'm gonna all I got to do is roll myself to my house. This is the best thing ever. Thank you for joining me today, Anna. You have your podcast coming out today too, right? Doesn't it? Yeah, I had Cory Booker on. All right. Well, listen, I'm mentioning your podcast on our podcast. You should do the same and say while you want to check out Behind the Table podcast. This week I am going to read some of my favorite signs from the protest, the No Kings protest, which I can't read here because I'll stop it. So in my podcast Bleep with Ana Navarro, I can say whatever the hell I want to in different languages. It's so cathartic. All right. Well, there you go. So put your kids to bed and listen to Anna's podcast later today. Thank you for joining me today, Anna. Tomorrow I'm back with Joy Behar and we'll see you then.